Hey everyone, I don't know about the weather where you are, but today in Köln it's beautiful and sunny and looking outside just makes me happy. So it doesn't really matter where the weather is where you are. For the next few minutes we're just gonna have the sunny disposition of Cologne weather and the exciting start to a brand new weekend. So are you guys ready for Facepalm moments for the week of June 7th? Let's go. I feel like I need a theme song for this segment, like Facepalm moment of the week. Oftentimes I find that there's a theme that comes out of the stories that I pick, and this week's theme is going to be Christian privilege. I've done a video in the past on Christian privilege and why it is harmful to American freedoms and civil rights. And in this episode, there are several stories that exemplify the kind of Christian privilege that video was about. In the video, I mentioned that white privilege and male privilege aren't necessarily things that come always at the expense of somebody else. For instance, I, as a white woman, when I walk into a department store, it doesn't occur to me that security is going to start following me and worrying about me stealing things because of the color of my skin. That's just not something that I have to confront as an offense every day or, on a regular basis. And my goal for privilege in those senses is I want everyone to have the same good customer service. I want everyone to walk into a shop and not feel like the security people are following them and picking them out because of a characteristic that they have. And so I distinguish between those kinds of privilege and Christian privilege, because I think Christian privilege is very different. It's not just an unconscious benefit that society provides. It's very much about elevating Christian status and the Christian religion at the expense of, specifically at the expense of, other people. And the stories in today's episode are going to illustrate that. So let's expose some Christian privilege and show why it's a bad idea, why it's bad for equality, why it's bad for people. Michigan has recently enacted a law that was passed by the Republican legislature and signed by the Republican governor that would allow faith-based adoption organizations to decline people's adoption petitions because on religious grounds. So if you're an unmarried couple, if you're a same-sex couple, if you're divorced and remarried outside of, say, the Catholic Church, the Catholic adoption charities that operate in Michigan with state funding can turn you away and say, no, we don't believe in having unwed couples adopting children, so just go away. And the ACLU is looking to gear up and challenge this because obviously you can't use taxpayer money to discriminate against taxpayers. And the reason why this bill passed was because the Catholic and the Christian adoption agencies that provide about a quarter of the services in Michigan did not want to have to be like other adoption agencies where states came in and said, look, if you're going to provide a public service using taxpayer money, you can't discriminate to members of the public. And rather than looking for the good of the child and following the law, these Christian adoption agencies just stopped providing their services. And so this law is an attempt to allow religious organizations to continue to collect taxpayer money and then deny their services to taxpayers based on the organization's religious beliefs and regardless of what the citizens' beliefs are. So I'm very, very confident that that kind of law would be overturned as being unconstitutional because it just fails on every single merit level of what constitutionality requires in terms of religious freedom and the protection of equality under the law. A Louisiana school district has pretty much admitted to using the Bible in the science classroom to present alternatives to evolution. A spokesperson for the Bossier Parish Schools said that while the district does not provide creationist literature as supplements in our courses, it does allow educators to use the Bible as supplementary material in presenting alternative points to evolution. The spokesperson added, "We support our teachers engaging their students in dialogue regarding creationism and evolution and allowing students to express their views." This is clearly a case of this is just illegal. You can't put the Bible into the science classroom in order to use it as a textbook, as an alternative to a scientific theory. So again, you see a lot of these situations where there's a dominant Christian population who wants to violate the laws. So they just go ahead and do it. And it takes this kind of being sued and exposure and being hauled into the courts before they will actually respect the idea that other people don't have their worldview, and that the public places like schools should be neutral, which are focused on educating our children, not indoctrinating them into your personal belief system. That wall does not exist in the minds of too many people in Louisiana, apparently, but I guess it's going to take court cases to do it. If it's going to cost money in their pockets to make them learn their lesson, that's what it's going to take. So we've had stupid from the Midwest in Michigan, we've had Christian stupid in Louisiana, in the South, and now we're going to go out to stupid Christian in the West. Stupid Christians in the West who want to use the Bible as a science and law book in the classrooms. Now this is in the legislature. These are just Republicans sitting in a room being stupid. But apparently one of the state party's Central Committee meetings came up with a proposal called a resolution supporting Bible use in Idaho public schools. And this is so shocking. I'm just going to read it out and then we can discuss it after. The resolution calls for the Bible to be expressly permitted to be used in the Idaho public schools for reference purposes to further the study of literature, comparative religion, English and foreign languages, U.S. and world history, comparative government, law, philosophy, ethics, astronomy, biology, geology, world geography, archaeology, music, sociology, and other topics of study where an understanding of the Bible may be useful or relevant. I don't think they've read the Bible. I am doing the Bible Reloaded Atheist Bible Study, and I had not sat down and read the Bible cover to cover. It's just way too boring. I knew passages, I knew sections, but doing the Atheist Bible Study has really opened my eyes. And then I've also followed the course, the Yale course that's available on YouTube on the Hebrew Bible, learned all about the history, the various kinds of books, how they were changed over time, how they were edited, how the morals evolved, how the practices and the attitudes toward God changed over time. And I can only say that the only reason somebody would think the Bible would be appropriate in any of these classrooms is if they haven't read it. It's an awful book. It teaches abortion. It teaches you how to kidnap and rape women. It teaches about slavery. It teaches about debauchery, men having hundreds of concubines, constant battles. I mean, I really have to say, I don't think any of these Republicans have ever read the book of God they think was written. They just want to stick it down other people's throats to make themselves feel better, to make themselves feel like good Christians for indoctrinating another generation of kids into the same garbage that produced this kind of resolutions. And, well, let's just hope that the legislature does not go anywhere with this, that this doesn't actually get taken up as serious. But in terms of where the people are, where the Republican Party is, if they had their way, there's a lot of people who would use the Bible in classrooms. And that's why we need to join forces with people who believe that the secular public spaces are the safest for all and the fairest for all, and keep up attention to this kind of nonsense and keep an eye on it and organize against it, because that's the only way they're finally being stopped. They used to get away with this stuff all the time, not get caught out on it. And now I think with enough non-religiously affiliated people in the country, in the US, increasingly we're going to see more pushback, and that is a really positive thing. And the last Christian privilege story that we're going to look at today is from Florida, where a school district, the Levy County School Board, has been asked to investigate several possible violations of the separation clause. Among the incidents listed as complaints are the fact that the school board meetings begin with an invocation which generally invokes Jesus. Teachers were promoting and participating in religious events, including the promotion of a global day of prayer. The Cedar Key School promoted a service, which is a Christian service honoring a graduating class on the school website. The event itself took place in a Baptist church. And the teachers display religious signs and plaques in their classrooms. One of them said, "You are a gift of God, His own possession." It is one thing to make an honest mistake, but to know that there is a clear separation of church and state, and starting meetings off praising Jesus, pushing prayer in classrooms and through the university or through the school's websites, having these kinds of religious messages, they have to know they're opening themselves up for a lawsuit, because as the incident report points out, that 30% of Floridians are non-Christians. So this isn't about merely an oversight. I think it's a deliberate attempt to give Christianity preference because it makes the people who are practicing it feel good. Last week, I covered a story about an ultra-Orthodox Jewish sect in London who had sent out letters saying that women were not going to be allowed to drop their kids off at school, and any mother who was trying to drop off her kid would be turned away. The kids would be turned away at the door. And almost like right after the video came out, I saw a story that they can't do that anymore. Yep, the ultra-Orthodox school has dropped its plan to ban women driving their kids to school. This came about because the Equality and Human Rights Commission warned them that it was unlawful and discriminatory. The two schools were told that, in the view of the Equality and Human Rights Commission, the actions of the proprietor of the two schools in question are likely to constitute a direct discrimination, contrary to Section 13, by association with the sex of another person, and in this instance, their mothers, when driving them to school. And although in the letter she mentions there is a right to religious freedom, quote, "This, as you know, is a qualified right and must be balanced against the rights of others, including the right not to be discriminated against under Article 14 and the right to an education." And Nikki Morgan, the Education Secretary, has also condemned the ban as completely unacceptable in modern Britain. So there's something that the Conservative government and I can agree on. So don't forget, even with these negative stories, don't let it get you down. I did activist training when I was at university, and there are 3 stages: educate, agitate, and organize. The more that we get news covering these sort of violations, this attempt at Christian privilege, the way that it continually threatens our civil rights, our egalitarian principles in law in the US, then the more that other people can learn about it, the more we understand the problem and can articulate it to others. So it's about education, and then the agitation is, what do we do to solve it, right? We need secular spaces. We need places where people can come in and religion isn't an issue, and complying with other people's religion isn't an issue. You're just treated as a person. That's the thing that we need to work for, and that doesn't have to be just an atheist agnostic thing. There's a lot of Christians, a lot of Jews, a lot of spiritual but not religious. I'm sure many Muslims as well, although I don't know in the US a lot of Muslims, so I can't speak on that. But for the other 2 groups and 3 groups, I can. They do want secular spaces. They do want equality under the law, and they see religious beliefs as a private practice, not something for the state to enforce. And so the more that we can find those allies and work with them, push back against this continual attempts at theocracy that we see from the religious right, we are changing minds. We're seeing the numbers move. We just need to keep aware of it, keep on top of it, and keep pushing and bring more people into the movement. So it's really, even though a lot of these stories seem like a bummer, they're not. They're the dying gasps of people trying to hold on to power. And in another 50 years, I think the US is going to look really different. And in the UK, obviously, you guys are, we already talked about like 2 videos ago about how awesome the UK was. And obviously, like, boom, turn around within 5 days of this announcement about the mother ban. The government was right on that. Equalities and Human Rights Commission, boom, right on that, taken care of. So things can be fixed. Things can get better. And they will. And I hope that between now and the next time I see you, you're feeling better, the weather is better, everything in your life is better. Even if things are awesome now, I still hope things are better for you. So until next week, I've been Christy. You've been awesome. And I'll catch you next time on Facepalm Moments of the Week. Bye.